So good day, everyone. My name is Werner Maritz. I welcome you all to our first BIM session.
So thank you very much for allowing us this time this afternoon to engage with BIM Africa. This is a follow-up session from the session that was presented in early December by OPRAM based on the ISO19650 standard. So the session in December was about the application of the standard. And what we're doing today is to follow up with looking at the software that actually enables the standard for common data environment. So this afternoon, we will have myself and Patrick presenting to you. My name is Werner Maritz. I work with the Oracle Construction and Engineering Business Unit. I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa. So just a little bit about myself. I'm an engineer by background. I've been involved in many infrastructure projects and natural resources projects, from the design phase through to the construction management and commissioning phase. And for the last almost 10 years, I've been spending my time with project management systems, project control systems, and information management systems in the built environment. I just want to draw your attention quickly to the safe harbor statement from Oracle, as we are a listed company. Let's think about what we do. As the Oracle Construction and Engineering Business Unit, we are part of a very large organization, Oracle Corporation. Our unit, the Construction and Engineering Business Unit, really focuses on asset-intensive industries. And what we are trying to do is to help the world to really transform how they do big projects, how they plan the critical assets of asset-intensive industries. And I want to focus just on 2 of our 6 objectives there. For one, doing the work cheaper. How can we help organizations do things cheaper? Well, you can help organizations to provide good quality, to prevent rework. And in a collaborative environment, that's what we're trying to do. Next one, how do we help organizations to do work on a fairer basis? Well, we can help every organization, irrespective of size, to have access to the same world-class project and construction management systems. So overall, we've got 4 objectives there. To improve capital efficiency for the organization. That means plan better, select better, execute better. Help organizations with their overall capital projects portfolio. Enable all the role players across the life cycle of the project. And really help organizations to manage vast volumes of data that's being generated across the life cycle. So what we see in projects these days, as projects are growing and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, is that there are many, many data items flowing around between the different stakeholders within a project. So think about design documentation, contractual documentation, documents, drawing specifications, and how this information needs to move. So if information is late or actually kept up at one of the organizations, it could quite easily delay the entire project. So what we find is many organizations, many projects are really faced with a silo approach to doing work. The owners team, the design team, the construction team, and the asset management team are really working in isolation from each other. So what our aim is with common data environment software is to bring these silos together, really help them to work as one, and align their work, coordinate their activities, help them to collaborate, and then transition that asset into operations and maintenance. And our focus is really across the entire project lifecycle, from the business identifying the need, helping the design team collaborate, transition into construction, all the construction activities happening on site, again transitioning into operations and maintenance. And eventually, we get to the decommissioning of the asset. And if you think about decommissioning, think it's easy, well, speak to the nuclear industry, and you'll see some of the challenges in decommissioning. So what's happening around the world is that organizations are really realizing that they need to do things differently. They need to do different approach in project and construction management. And the birth of the digital transformation in the built environment is quite evident in places like United Kingdom, Singapore, Germany, Australia, Canada, and even in Africa. We see a lot of organizations, a lot of countries in Africa really wanting to leverage digital transformation to improve how they perform their work. So if we look around, what can support us in actually guiding the digital transformation process? It's quite easy. Let's look towards international standards. And many organizations in Africa already has adopted ISO 9000 series in terms of quality management. Many have adopted asset management and project management standards. And now with the ISO 19650, that presents us as a continent as well with the opportunity to standardize how we manage information during the delivery phase of assets. But managing that information about the asset is really two components. It's not just the project information management phase, but also the information that's required to manage the asset. So what Patrick's going to do later is to show you a little bit about that transition and digital handover from project information into asset information management. So one of the challenges that we face is that we've got multiple parties involved in big capital projects. The appointing party or the owner, they normally have multiple lead appointed parties or main contractors, and a multitude of what we know as subcontractors, consultants, and suppliers, known within the standard as appointed parties. And depending on where you are in the life cycle of the project, these can actually change in terms of number of organizations over a continuous basis. And this really results in a very, very complex project supply chain. From the owner, design authorities, main contractors, subcontractors, specialty contractors. So there is a lot of information that need to be coordinated between these different parties. And if we think we can rely on manual systems and email to manage the information flow and the documentation and the design, that has proven many times very ineffective. So we need to find a way to overcome the challenges of this very complex supply chain that we have within the capital projects environment. And what we see from example, the ISO standards is the generation of information management models to deal with that information. How do we deal with information around the business management, the selection of capital investment projects, making sure that decisions that the organization takes align with their strategic objectives. Secondly, the project information model. That is all about the design development and the construction development models, making sure that we use and leverage information to deliver good quality projects, coordinated design, coordinated construction work. And then handing over into operations and maintenance, that digital handover into the asset maintenance side, making sure that the as-built baseline of those assets don't get lost in translation into the operational phase. So we really need to leverage the tools at our disposal to manage the transition of information and the resulting feedback loops of this information. And of late, we've seen a lot of information, a lot of discussion around digital twins, taking that vast amount of information, turning it into a model where the digital model represents reality. And that's really to enable people to make better decisions about how to build the asset, how to maintain the asset. But again, there's a lot of data, a lot of interrelationships between structured and unstructured data that needs to be managed within that environment. And you just can't do this without the proper electronic platform to help you, because there's a lot of data transfer between the digital twin and the physical twin. The digital twin during design and construction, and the physical twin, the actual asset that we're building. That interrelationship over the life cycle of the asset is a lot of data flow that needs to be managed. And when we look at the standards, we need to establish this common data environment. The common data environments is really one place the entire project supply chain can manage the information, single version of the truth. Modern common data environments, like an Oracle Aconex, is cloud-based software as a service platforms. Very secure information, very secure usage, very high availability platforms. That's what we depend on. And because a lot of projects are actually done on an international distributed team basis, you want to make sure that you've got secure, high availability for that system. Common data environment must not just focus on the 3D model. It needs to focus on the portfolio management information, cost and contract management, help the design collaboration process work, help the construction management process, and ultimately that digital handover of the asset information. So what are the benefits we're looking towards for the common data environment? We're looking for a single version of the truth. We're looking for dependable, reliable information we can use to make decisions on. We're looking for an environment that can cross organizational boundaries, making sure different organizations can use the information for different purposes and decisions that need to be made. You cannot have a hard boundary between organizations. Information needs to flow. And we really need to leverage technology, leverage mobility, leverage cloud environments, leverage security, leverage 4G and 5G networks to move this data around. And then ultimately, because there's no just one system as an entire common data environment, we really need the ability to have open APIs and connect these systems with other systems. When we look at construction these days, it's very clear there's a lot of technology being used. There's a lot of things being developed, 3D printing, drones, robots, sensors. And all of this information is useful to us in terms of building the projects. The question is, how do we leverage that data? How do we bring it all together? How do we make sure we can use Internet of Things and blockchain and smart materials? What we're doing from an Oracle perspective with the common data environment is really to create that single repository cloud environment where a lot of technology stakeholders from the industry all tie their data into a single environment. And the benefit of that is that we co-develop the interfaces. We give that information to make decisions on at the end of the day. So Oracle is running Innovation Lab in Chicago where we bring all these role players together, everybody tying into the common data environment to be able to leverage the data. So we are really looking at a life cycle approach, looking at data across the entire life cycle of plan, build, and operate. And we don't just focus on buildings. We have public infrastructure projects, energy resources projects, residential and commercial, industrial manufacturing. It's a very wide application because everybody needs to be able to leverage the technology to improve their project performance. So our solution actually has a number of components, from the planning side, portfolio management, risk management, resource management, to the financial side around cost management and design collaboration. Ultimately, going into the payments management of subcontractors, making sure that there's good corporate and financial governance involved in all the financial aspects of the project. Of course, the facilities management is a strong component. Patrick will show the handover into facility management, but our solution continues into the facility management area. And ultimately, what we're interested in is this common secure data environment as the foundation, the platform for the ecosystem. And all of this data is useless if it doesn't end up in a data analytics layer where we leverage data science to provide good quality, real-time, dependable information for decision making. But what we're ultimately interested in is the actual software. So I've enlisted the assistance of Patrick.
Thank you, Werner. Okay, thank you, everyone. So I've just got 4 slides that will serve as a background before we dive into the software. So when we talk about collaboration, why do we need collaboration? In a construction site, whenever you're delivering a project, you've got a lot of companies, organizations that deliver this project. So you'll have the owner, you'll have the contractor, you'll have the various consultants, And so if you don't have a common collaboration platform, then you end up with a mess of contractual information that is floating around. People could be using Google Drive, people could be using SharePoint, others could be using Dropbox, and eventually what you have is a mess, as you can see on the screen. The problem we solve with our product Aconex is related to the amount of data that is generated during projects. For instance, here in Africa or in Europe and Africa, a single project will, a big project like the ones we are doing across the African continent is, you'll find that there are 348 people collaborating on a single project. If you look at the number of documents, you're looking at about 50,000 documents. The number of formal correspondence, RFIs that are sent across the organization, about 122,000 pieces of correspondence. So when you look at the volume of data, you have to get a common data environment that is efficient, that complies with the standards, and gives you the results that you need in less time. We also assist clients with the model management. We call it model management because we interact with other solutions with the market. So people like Navisworks, Solibri, Revit. So they use Aconex as a collaboration platform so that they are specialists in whatever field they do. Let's say structural, they use Revit, for instance, and then they upload the model onto Aconex so that they can collaborate with the other consultants, let's say mechanical engineers. So we've got those capabilities, and as you can see on the screen, it's designed to help our organizations collaborate better. In terms of the specifications as specified in the ISO document that we're talking about today, these are some of the things that a common data environment should have. For instance, a unique ID for each of the documents that are going to be transmitted. Things like revision, things like statuses, the ability for information containers to transition between states, and also the recording of the name and user when information container revisions transitions between one state into another. In other words, what is the audit trail that you've got for your common data environment? So our product Aconex is a secure platform. It's based on organizations collaborating with each other, as you can see there. So for instance, an engineer will send contractual information to the contractor, and from there we'll be able to see how this works in real life. So let me just go to my system. So this is our solution, Aconex. I've got a list of projects that I've been working on as a project manager working for Majestic Builders. I've got various projects here. I can move in between them. I can see what's happening in the various projects. And for instance, if we go back to this Sky demo project, I can see very quickly we've got 137 open RFIs and a couple of open variations. So this is what you get when you have a common data environment where you've got all the various pieces of information in one system. And quickly, if we were to go into the document register. So this is the document register that contains all the technical specifications, all the drawings, all the technical advices that have been received from the various consultants. And what you can see here is a list of all the projects here. We don't have a list of all the documents. We don't have a limit on the file sizes. As you can see, we've got PDF documents, we've got DWG documents. And as you can see, we don't have a folder structure. We use metadata to help you search these documents in a more efficient manner. So for instance, now we've got 692 documents. I can easily look for architectural documents here. And very quickly from about 692 documents, I'm able to get 196 documents. I can even refine this further, saying I only want to see architectural documents that are actually drawings. Again, very easy to find this information. I can even refine this further and say, can you only show me all the approved documents? And if you remember on the standard, we talk about how documents move between the various states. And so we'll be able to show you a bit later on how that works. I can even refine this further and say, I only want to look at PDF documents. So you got the ability to filter this information very quickly. And because we are working with a large number of documents, you need a system that can help you search for these documents in a more efficient way. I can even say, okay, show me anything to do with their reception. And the system gives you that. So we've moved down from 700 documents to 1 document in a couple of seconds. So this is the kind of efficiency you get by using our system. And if we drill down this further, you can see that it's a revision 7. So it means there have been other documents that existed before this revision. And as you can see, we've got the document with all the various tags in here. For instance, the status is approved. We can see where the building zone is, the revision date. So we are looking at a document that is just under 5 years old, or 5.5 years old, and we've been able to get it in a couple of seconds. So if we look at all the other documents that have existed here, we can be able to see and open them up and see what changed. We can even look at the audit trail. So we can see this document has just been viewed, a matter of seconds. This is actually in Australian time, but this is when we just viewed it, and all the way from inception. So we're able to see this document from the day it was uploaded into our system until the last time we viewed it. So that's how we handle the audit control purposes or our audit specifications in the standard. And on a practical level, when we come to transmitting documents to our various contractors, you've got various ways of doing that. For instance, I'm a main contractor. I want my subcontractor to start working on this document. I would then transmit this either as a transmitter. And let's say I'm going to send this to my interior designer, Mr. Luis Figo. And then I would then have the various tags here. Why am I sending this? Is it for information? Is it for coordination? For instance, does he need to respond to this? Again, it depends on the project requirements. For instance, RFIs will require a quick turnaround so that work does not slow down. In this case, if he doesn't need to respond to, you can leave it blank. But if he requires, you require response, you can give him a deadline of, let's say, 3 days, and you should get an answer on Monday. So let's say this is the sizing specifications. For the balcony. And then you can send this. You can attach other documents because we've got all the documents into a system here. So you can search other PDF documents. So you could attach all this and have it as part of the transmitter, as you can see, and then you send it off. So what then you have here is a permanent record of this transmission. And as you can see, this is Patrick who sent this, but he's from Majestic organization. And it was sent to Louis from Belton organization. In other words, it's communication between organizations, because remember, we may move on as individuals, but you want the data that was related to the project remain with the organization. We also got a complete audit trail when that was sent, the reason for sending this, and the status. If we remember what we talked about in the standard, they wanted a unique number, so as part of the standard. So you can see here we've got a mail number which is unique to this particular correspondence, and that remains with this until the life or until the completion of this correspondence. The documents that were attached will now be part of the receiving organization's document register. They don't have to do anything. These documents will be available for them for use. So that's how we handle documents and transmission. And more so, if we were to go back to the correspondence piece, because a lot of correspondence happens between organizations. We can see here we've got about 927 pieces of correspondences. We could filter this again using the various tags. Let's say it's a request for information. It's an RFI. We want to find out where that is. We could even filter according to the various statuses. Usually on Monday mornings, you want project managers to look at the outstanding or overdue RFIs so that they can actually work on this. So very quickly, from 927 pieces of correspondence, we're able to narrow down this to 11, which are RFIs that are actually overdue. You can see the various fields, you can see the subject, when it was sent, from which, who sent it, and from which organization, and then the status of that. We could also search for other pieces of correspondence. Let's say it's a client's advice, because this is also very important. Client or consultant advice. So consultant advice, because most of the time you'll find that work does not proceed until a consultant has given approval for a certain specification or sizing or even paint color, depending on the project requirements. So we've got the ability to configure the various mail types or the various forms of correspondence. You can even say here, I only want to see the consultant's advice notice that have actually been closed out. So again, you've got a list of a narrowed list where you can work and see, okay, we closed out a few of these requests. What did we actually agree on? And you can even scroll down or even use a normal search and say, show me anything to do with power. So let's say there's a power problem in your building. You want to be able to see, what did we actually agree on? And very quickly, you're able to get a list, for instance, of this piece of correspondence. We can see it was initially issued out in 2014, so that's over 5 years ago. What the query was, who responded to it, as you can see here. All the various correspondences that happened in between, because this is actually what happens, because a query comes out, the project manager says, okay, fine, can we get the specialist to answer this? You send it to the electrical consultant. He looks at this and says, okay, fine, we can make adjustments, but we don't have enough piping. So we need the mechanical guys to put extra piping so that we can lay more cable. So that is exactly what happens. And all that correspondence is required so that you can solve disputes or even use the new drawings, for instance, if they've been issued to do maintenance. So for instance, here, we've scrolled down all the way for 5 years ago until when this was completed. And eventually this query was rejected by the project manager. So we've got a complete audit trail. We've got a complete record of what actually happened in there, in this piece of query.
If you say something is like this, say what you like.
Is it a question? Should we go ahead?
No, don't worry, continue.
Okay, all right. Going back to the documents register, like I said, we don't have a limit on documents. You can upload any type of documents. We don't have a file limit in terms of the type and the size of the documents that you can upload. And for our purposes today, we also have the model viewing capabilities. So this is an IFC file. We've got an integrated IFC viewer. So as you can see here, we're able to view this in our system. So I'm just opening up the viewpoint. So the importance of having a common data environment where you can combine all the documents, all the pieces of correspondence together with the ability to view models is that you then only have one platform to use. So what you have here is a view of our building here. This is the architectural view. As you can see here, there are various disciplines. And in the real world, what happens is the architectural consultants would be responsible for the architectural model. The same way for the mechanical, we can load the mechanical as well. So the various professionals or the consultants that are related with the various disciplines would then maintain the various models and work on them until the project is completed. So for instance here, if we've got the capabilities to move and navigate through the model. As you can see, we can move up, we can change the angles, we can even scroll further in. The model is enriched with data. As you can see here, we're able to see that this is actually a storage tank. We can see that this is actually a screw chiller. It's a air-cooled chiller on top of the roof. We've got documents, because remember, we've got now the document piece into Aconex. So we're able to pull all the data that is related to the model from one central place. You've got the installation photo, you've got the electrical warranty certificate, you've got the installation manual as well in there. And more importantly, you can actually now create RFIs out of here because everything is on one system. We can move this around. And let's say, for instance, you are working on this model, it's still in the design phase, and you're wondering, is this space going to be enough for our maintenance crews? It doesn't look like it's going to be enough. So what you then do is you measure this. You measure this. Okay, it looks like 1.08 meters. But because you're just a project manager, you want the specialist to work on this, you then create an issue very easily. Create an issue here, mark it out, and then create an issue here. The issue type here would be, maybe it's a warning, because you could even write here and say, from previous experience, we require 2 meters of spacing to allow maintenance crews to perform routine maintenance easily. Let me change the typos here. And then you can save this. If it's a high priority, you've got the capabilities to do that, and you save off this issue here. So the issue has been created. And now if we were to go back to our dashboard here, so we've got a dashboard of all the issues that have been raised in the model. As you can see, we've got 6 open issues. We've got 0 in progress, 2 are solved, and 1 is closed. So if we are to look at all the issues that have been raised, this is the issue that we've just raised here. As you can see, it gives you a snapshot, and it gives you the model exactly where that is. We can now assign this activity to one of the engineers that are working on this. For instance, we can say, I'm going to assign this to my mechanical engineer. So, and that is Drummond. And then you give them a due date. I want an answer by end of the month, and save it. So that has been assigned to him, and this will then be picked up by the specialist team. They could be using Revit, for instance, to do the mechanical engineering piece. They could be using Solibri for model checking. So they'll pick it up right directly from Solibri or even from Navisworks. And the reason for that is because we've got a plugin directly from Navisworks or Solibri or Revit, so that that team is a specially designed team, and they're able to work on those items from a specialist field. It's just that Aconex is being used as a collaboration platform. So as soon as that is raised, they'll be able to view that on their respective platforms. We could even go further and create an RFI out of this. So we could create an RFI and say, this is a request for information. And then we set it to our consultants here. Let's say Luis Figo, and say, so for instance, if it was needed to be fabricated, please review the new model and fabricate accordingly. And if there's a cost implication, then you need to know that, and then you send it off. So from one central platform, we've been able to bring all the documentation. We've been able to view the model. We can even raise RFIs according to against that model. And more importantly, we've got an audit trail, as you can see here. From the moment we created the issue, when the duty changed, when the viewpoint was added, and the related models. And because we created this issue in Aconex, it's written there. And all this is tracked, and it cannot be deleted. So it gives you a very good audit trail in terms of solving disputes, in terms of using this information for your maintenance, and having a proper record for your project. And now to finish off, I'm just going to show you what happens when a project is completed. For instance, we are building a 20-story building. You've got the building which has been completed. We've commissioned the building, and now you need the operations and maintenance manuals so that your operations crew can actually, maintain the building, operate the building. The facilities personnel can use the building to the best of the intentions. So, for instance, here we've got level 12. Assuming we wanted to look at the electrical discipline in terms of all the electrical installations, the assets that are related to electrical, would then open up the model. We can zoom in. As you can see, we've got the capabilities to move around the electrical diagram. We even got the capabilities to see the assets that are tagged in this floor or on this floor. We can see the DB boards here. And we are able to even open up the documentation that is related to this DB board. For instance, this is a manual for the DB board installation. It was installed, and because information was already in one system, you're able to get that preventive and maintenance procedures right from the system. You could even view the photo of that asset, just for your crews to be sure of what we're talking about. And this is what we call the digital twin, because once the project was delivered, you also got a set of operations manuals that you're going to use for your building. As you can see there, you can also see the testing reports that were done to actually commission this for use. As you can see, the test results for the installation was completed and signed off. If you look at this is a document that is about 5 years old as well. And we're able to get that information very quickly. And I think with that, that's what I wanted to show, to share with the team. And we can open up now the floor for Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for presentations. At least we've been able to see how the Aconex platform takes everyone on the project through the design phase to the operations and maintenance phase. So we'll have a couple of questions here during the presentation. And the first question is, It's asking if you can draw in Aconex. Perhaps, I guess it's asking if you can collaborate during design in Aconex in real time. So, because from the question I have there, you say, okay, good. Can we draw in Aconex? So maybe you can address that question first.
Yes, Aconex is not a drawing platform. It is a platform where we bring different designs from different consultants or architects or design authorities together. Let's say, as Patrick is showing, the electrical design, the mechanical design, the structural design, often done by different specialists, need to be able to be brought together. So what Aconex does is it helps you to federate that design, get the different design components into a single model so that you can actually collaborate on there. It also helps you to do clash management, so not clash detection, but clash management. Let's say you've run your clash detection in Navisworks somewhere, but you only have 5 people that can access Navis because that is a design team. But you actually want the extended project team, extended design team to be able to integrate and interact with the model. So you bring all the information from the different architects firms, different engineering firms together in a single Aconex environment. And it's from that single Aconex environment where you then get the entire project team, the owner, the constructing company, the engineers, the suppliers, to all work off a single version of the truth, a single integrated, federated model. There's an integration, a bi-directional integration between Revit and Aconex, so that there's any changes in Revit, updates in Aconex, any issues raised in Aconex goes back into Revit for people to take action.
Does it come with Aconex subscription or is it a plugin?
It's a plugin that's provided by Autodesk for Revit with a standard out-of-the-box integration between Revit or Navisworks or Solibri directly into Aconex. So those are free plugins provided by, for example, Autodesk to plug into Aconex. You install them into Revit, you connect it to Aconex, and it's a bi-directional integration.
Okay, that's clear. Okay, I think I have my own question. My question is this: in the industry today, we have this idealized concept of digital twin, whereby we have an intelligent model somewhere that connects to the real building in real time with use of sensors and all that. I'm asking. I don't want to understand if Aconex has that level of integration with an existing building, or you have that in view in the near future. Or how do you understand your digital twin is at the end of the project or at the end of the construction? You have enough documents and information about the project, but some people believe that a digital twin should be able to connect with the building in real time so that if there's a maintenance issue, it will be indicated on the intelligent model and all that. So how do you address that?
So Aconex does not have a live interface to an operational building, for example, to monitor HVAC systems or something like that. That's not the purpose of Aconex. But what we do within Oracle is we do a digital handover from our Aconex as-built baseline into our facility management software called Primavera Unifier Facility Management. And within Primavera Unifier Facility Management, which is just a sister product to Aconex, we have the ability to monitor real time through interfaces what is happening, for example, to HVAC systems, to lighting systems, to standby generators and so on, to actually monitor the building. And that is then used to help with the preventive and corrective maintenance of the building. So it's sister products, both from our division of Oracle, and we transition the information from as-built into operations. It's just another module within our suite.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have another question here. Someone is asking, why should I choose Oracle Aconex as my preferred common data environment compared to other solutions out there? What stands Aconex out?
I think there's two very, very important things here. We always struggle to get organizations to adopt technology. And often one of the problems with the lack of adoption is that people find it difficult to use the software. And the second one is that they don't trust the software. So Aconex addressed that in two ways. The first one is a very easy user interface. You've seen what Patrick is showing on the screen. And that user interface is actually currently running in Denver, Colorado. So this is live software demo out of Denver, Colorado. Very, very easy to use, very configurable. The second very important component that Aconex has, which no other common data environment has, is what we call neutrality. And neutrality is a concept where every organization using the common data environment is 100% assured of the security of their data. If we think about the manual system, if I want to give a document or a design to somebody else, I've got to do a transmittal and hand over that document to the other company. And Aconex works on a similar basis. Although it is a common environment, the security within Aconex, which is unique, doesn't allow different organizations to see other organizations' information unless it is handed over on an electronic transmittal within the system. And to that effect, it meets the security and handover requirements of the ISO standard in terms of information management. This is a unique feature of Aconex. And if you're interested in more detailed information behind that, feel free to email me and I can share the details of what we call neutrality with everybody. But no other common data environment has the neutrality security component.
So for instance, Werner, maybe I can show this in 1 minute. So we've got this document here. The document is, as you can see, that's the document number there. If I now log in as a subcontractor here, we are working on the same project as a subcontractor and search for this document. As you can see, it doesn't exist for this organization because it's not been shared with them. Now, very easily, when it comes to sharing this information, I could then share this as a transmitter to this organization now, Louis Miller. Sorry, okay, Louis Miller. Louis Miller. And then call it issued for construction and sizing specification. And then you send it. Now, if I log in back to this Mr. Louis Miller and search for this, then that's when it's up, he'll have access to it. As you can see there.
So Patrick, this is real time with guaranteed delivery, yes, but absolute guarantee on security.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Dayton was raising his hand earlier. I don't know.
Okay, I've just shared my email address on the chat. If anybody wants to reach out to me with some questions, happy to address that.
So I think that's all the question for now. So thank you very much, Maritz and Patrick, for your time, for taking us through Aconex platform today.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.